Hey, what's up guys, YouTubesy, and we are back here today with my coverage of the Little Cup draft tournament run by the APA guys. So this is going to be a kind of separate thing to the APA draft league that I'm doing. This is actually just a tournament they put on. It did have a cash prize, or I guess like a prize. It was a $25 Amazon gift card prize, so whoever comes in first wins that. I think there may have been a second place prize, but regardless, it is a draft tournament, and yeah, I was really feeling Little Cup lately, and honestly, playing in tournaments has been a lot of fun. I've been doing that quite a lot lately, so I thought, why not join this? Yeah, Little Cup's pretty fire. It's definitely a change of pace from the normal kind of draft format that we're all used to by now, so it's good to mix it up. And I knew there'd be some exciting players playing in this tour that I obviously wouldn't get to face in the APA draft league that I'm in, so always good to face tour players as opposed to league players. I think it's good to mix it up a bit. And yeah, get a chance to face a whole bunch of new people. So we have a pretty solid squad for this tournament. I think I drafted a really fun team. Obviously, the 6 you see on screen, we've got the Abra, the Mudbray, Doduo, Krogunk, Chespin, and Tortuga. But I also did draft a few other mons. Of course, I think we drafted teams of 9 or 10 mons, and I'll just pull that up here. I also drafted on my squad Baniri, which is a really fast normal type, as well as Stunky and Wooper. So yeah, very solid team. For those of you guys who may not know much about Little Cup, Abra is really good, and in a kind of format where not every team has a dark type, it's just can be really solid. Because there are a couple of like Abra checks in the tier, but yeah, in a tournament it's going to be really solid. Mudbray is an amazing rocker. Doduo is just broken. Flying spam is crazy good in Little Cup. Krogunk, really solid team. Support mon. Chespin, really fat. And Tortuga's a really solid one too. And then Stunky in the back is a really solid dark type. And yeah, T-Spike Absorber. But yeah, first off we're facing up against ZDH. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave timestamps in the description. This is going to be a long one, so I'm going to break down my my pool games and then proceed to the bracket round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave timestamps and break it up. So if you guys aren't interested in maybe watching pools, you want to skip straight to the next round to the bracket, you can go ahead. But I know a lot of you guys will want to see the pool rounds as well. So first off, we are facing off against ZDH. Big fan of his work, cool dude. And yeah, we're facing off against him here. I haven't played him before, but he's a super chill guy, very friendly. So he has a pretty interesting team, nothing too crazy on it. Pumpkaboo is probably his best mon, to be honest. Froakie potentially, but we're going to jump into it right now, especially in these pool games. I'm not going to go into too much depth. When we get into the bracket round and further on, we are going to discuss the matchup a little bit more thoroughly. But yep, sit back and enjoy. So we're going to jump into it. He is going to lead off with this Froakie, as I am going to lead off with my Doduo. I am going to Brave Bird him here. I am Scarfed, and getting damage off on this, which is the biggest threat to my team, is what I want to do overall, because once I remove this, I can pretty much win. So I'm going to go into my Abra now, as I do outspeed him here, and take him out with a Psychic. He's going to bring in his little Axew thing here. No, this isn't Axew, this is Gibble. So I'm going to go classic, getting the name wrong right off the bat. He's going to go for Shadow Claw, as it does proc my stamina. I'm just going to be able to fire off a powerful Earthquake, as he's going to crit me here with a Facade. Now, due to my stamina boost, that took me, I tanked that hit easily, but unfortunately he does get the crit there, so Mudbray isn't going to live there, unfortunately, but this is going to allow me to bring in my Krogunk. I do have my rocks up, and yeah, his team is looking pretty vulnerable to Krogunk, honestly, at this stage, as well as my Abra in the back. I also do have a Shell Smash Tortuga, so that could definitely come in here. So he's going to go into his Chimchar and go for the fake out here, breaking my Sturdy if I did have it, but I believe I am Berry Juice Sturdy on this set. So right here I'm going to Aqua Jet, just playing it safe in case he did have like a grass coverage for me. As here he's going to go for the Energy Ball, and Chespin is a really solid mon. Because of Bulletproof, it's just very effective at switching in on stuff like Fungus, Sludge Bombs, Energy Balls. It's kind of crazy how many moves actually are affected by Bulletproof. Like, the more and more I kind of build in Little Cup, the more I realize Chespin's just really annoying in that sense, because it does nullify a lot of moves. Even like Acid Spray doesn't really sound like a bullet type move, but apparently it is. And yeah, really solid mon. So I'm going to bring it in here. It also checks against Shadow Ball as well, as I do fire for Toxic onto that thing. Getting that thing chipped is going to be really nice for my Tortuga in the back, as he's now going to go out into his Lulmore, I think it is, as I do set up a spike and get him Toxic there. So it's another thing getting lower into range of my Tortuga. Now I go hard out into my Krogunk here on the Moonblast, and just fire off a Sludge Bomb here, outspeeding him. He was more than likely a defensive set on that Lomor, as now he is going to go back into his Pumpkaboo, and potentially having the Psychic here, I want to respect that, as he does show off the Psychic, so this is definitely one of his better responses to Krogunk, so no doubt that he is packing the Psychic there. So I'm just going to start synthing up. We're both losing kind of health to the Toxic, but I'm going to come out of this exchange on top, really, unless he has Synthesis of his own, in which case I can always switch out to reset the Toxic timer. But he is going to go out into his Chimchar here, and he's going to reveal Berry Juice, which is really cool, so he's going to get back to full health, but I do have Tortuga in the back, and the fact that he switched out earlier after breaking my Sturdy implies that he may not have grass coverage, or he wanted to scout and see if if I allowed a Berry Juice, as he is actually going to reveal the Brick Break, and this is going to be perfect because I am going to proc my Berry Juice on this turn, get back to full health with my Berry Juice, and Shell Smash all in one turn and bringing me back to full. I do have my Sturdy intact, so nothing can OHKO me, even if he does have like a Scarfer, like he's somehow scarfed Gibble with Earthquake or something like that. I am at full, and Aqua Jet is just going to pretty much claim a life here, as he's now forced to bring in his Pumpkaboo to die to hazards, and out comes the Gibble. And I think this thing might have been scarfed. Yeah, it was actually scarfed, I think. Yeah, it was scarfed, but we do outspeed with the +2, and that is going to be game 1, so very, very solid game. Pretty fun, I think, getting the hazards up, really positioning Tortuga into a spot where he could wrap the game up was definitely what I needed to do to win this one. And yeah, that's what happened. We're going to jump into game 2 in just a sec. Alright, so we're back with game 2. Bandit Caterpie's got a pretty interesting team. Not very threatening, the mons that he brought. He actually had better mons on his roster. I don't know why he opted to bring this kind of team. I think he just wasn't taking this one too seriously. Maybe he'd already clinched brackets in this stage, I'm not too sure. But we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to lead with Turt, as he is going to lead with Swinub. So this is more than likely his rocker. He's just going to go for the Earthquake here. I'm going to knock off, remove his Eviolite, which is going to be really solid for the rest of my team. Especially Abra, like getting chip off on this thing, as he's going to go to Tentacle on my Aqua Jet. I'm just going to go into Stunky here, expecting him to potentially have the Giga Drain there, and Stunky would of course be able to chew that up. And this is actually a really offensive Life Orb Stunkies. This is pretty cool, and Stunky is, for those of you guys who don't know, really, really fast. It's like 18 speed in Little Cups, so that's like one of the higher speed tiers. He's going to go into his Meowth here, which does naturally outspeed me, and he's going to reveal the Fake Out with a normal gem. Kind of interesting tech. I don't really know why he's running that, but he's going to go into his Yamask here, which does kind of warm my Krogunk. So I'm going to go out into my Tortuga, and I want to get my rocks up if I can. So I think I knock off here. Maybe I'm carrying rocks on Mudbray. This match was played a long time ago, but Turt tanks here. It's like, if I like Tortuga, no, I do have rocks in this, yeah. So Tortuga is such a fantastic mon in Little Cup, as yeah, its 2 abilities are just incredible. It has like Swift Swim too, but usually its other 2 abilities are kind of better, Solid Rock and Sturdy. But Mudbray, I am a scarfed Mudbray with EQ. Another reason why I wanted to knock off Swinub's Eviolite earlier and get up rocks, because this mon just really like destroys this dude's team. It's going to 2-KO your mask even if he burns me, as that is what's going to happen. So he's going to burn my Mudbray, and I should be able to take him here with another EQ. But he does live. That is Little Cup rules for you. But Scarf Mudbray is still a win con, even burnt, as he is going to set up a T-Spike here. I do have Stunky in the back, so kind of trivial. Turn that one, but I think if he had Hex, that was probably his better play there. So he's now going to go into Ferroseed, and I am going to preserve my Mudbray, just go into Krogunk, who can essentially wrap this game up. I think I have Drain Punch on this set, and it seems he was a scarfed Ferroseed, so very interesting bring, as I do have the Vacuum Wave here, and I will be able to pop him there, just in case he wanted to flinch me down with the Scarfed Iron Head, as he is going to bring in his Caterpie and just hit me with that tackle and knock off my Krogunk. So obviously this first few games kind of, the first game was good, this game was pretty bad, to be honest. But yeah, the caliber of games is definitely going to improve, so we're going to pause it here and jump into the third game of my... Alright, so we're here with the third game, up against Flame Horizon, and he's got a really interesting team. He's got Webs and Sun support with Tyrant, which is a really solid mon. Inkay is kind of like, I don't know, it's rarely seen, but it's kind of solid. Like, Scarfed Superpower is definitely a threat versus my team, so I have to be careful around that, although I do have pretty great speed control on my team. So just a quick rundown of this one. We do have Life Orb Baniri, which can go really in versus his team. I am Fake Out, and I do have Drain Punch for the Tyrant. Fake Out Return, really solid versus his Sun. I think I have Quick Attack too, so in a situation where like his Bulbasaur's in Sun and I'm really like threatened by that, I can always just fake out into quick attack. I've got Scarf Doduo here, which is again really solid. A mon that doesn't care about him setting up webs. Just a pretty fat Mudbray. And a Violite. I think I buried juice on Mudbray. I'm an Eviolite Krogunk and an Eviolite Stunky, which both help versus his Sun really well. Like Bulbasaur really struggles to break through both of these. And then we have a Sash Abra, which is just amazing insurance versus anything really, like a Scarf Tyrant, a +1 Tyrant, Bulbasaur and Sun. So yeah, I'm expecting webs, Sun offense, maybe DD or Rocks Tyrant. So we're going to jump right into this one. I'm going to lead with Baniri. It is my designated lead, as he does lead with his Surskit. I'm just going to fake out into Drain Punch, as he does bring in his Tyrant here. That thing takes a lot from the fake out. So this boy's going to drop to the Drain Punch, and we get back up to a nice amount. He's now going to bring back in his Surskit to set up the webs. I presume he's Sash from the way he's playing this, as I'm going to Drain Punch as opposed to returning here in case he did have like Berry Juice on him or something like that. Also, Drain Punch allowed me to get a little bit more health back in case he was like Life Orb or something with Hydro. I'd be able to be at a higher amount of health than if I click return and took another round of Life Orb. And it was actually a roll to take out my Baneri at that range, like after the second Life Orb hit. So yeah, we're going to take him out here. He's now going to go into his Inky. I'm just going to Scout for Scarf to stay in, because if he knocks me out with Scarf Superpower, I have Krogunk in the back who can pretty much come in for free on this. And I do have stuff like my Abra, which can always take this on with Signal Beam. And my Scarfed Doduo also outspeeds it. So my return is going to put him at a really low range of health, and he is going to get the +1/+1. So he's more than likely potentially a Z-move variant on this. He wasn't Scarfed, as my Baniri did outspeed him. But my Doduo is going to come in here and click Brave Bird twice. I want to get damage off on this Vulpix to put it in range of any of the priority on my team. I've got like Sucker Punch and Vacuum Wave, or Sucker Punch on my Krogunk as well. So I'm going to bring in Stunky here, and I want to get rid of these webs because these webs are really hindering Abra's ability to act as a win con in the late game. So I'm going to defog here and follow it up with a Sucker Punch just to take the Vulpix out here. And he's now going to bring in his Bulbasaur, and I'm going to go out into my Krogunk on his Hidden Power, what I presume to be Hidden Power Fire. And he's now going to pop the Z move, Z Bloom Doom, but big Krogunk tanks that, and he's going to do a huge amount with Sludge Bomb into the Sucker Punch here and put Bulbasaur at a range of health where it's going to die to anything on my team. And Sun is no longer up, so he doesn't outspeed anything, and Abra can just come in here. I am Sash, so even if his Natu is Sash is Scarf for some reason, I will be able to live any hit. And yeah, I can take a hit here. He's locked into Heat Wave, which means he has to attack, which means that my Stunky Sucker Punch will be able to take him out here. Mudbray also lived any hit there. So that's going to be my third game of the pools. Nice 3-0 in the pools. And yeah, we're going to pause it here and jump right into the bracket play. So in brackets, obviously, if you guys haven't participated in a tournament before, the way it works, after pools, the best players advance on, like with the best records, then advance onto brackets. So we should get some better games, some more entertaining games to come. Alright guys, so here we are with round 1 of the bracket play, facing off against Bredabus, and he's got a pretty solid team. He's got Vullaby, one of the best mons in the Little Cup format, certainly, as well as Krogunk. So Vullaby and Krogunk are a really solid core. Really like those two together. And he's got Onix as well, which is a fantastic hazard setter. So pretty interesting team. He's got Bergmite, which could be, I don't know, I think Bergmite's pretty easy for my team to take on, to be honest. Cyndaquil could definitely be a threat if it's Scarfed, but I do have Tortuga in the back, which can really take advantage of like Scarf Eruption from Cyndaquil. And then Cottony, just an annoying defensive mon most likely in this case. So we're going to lead off with my Baniri this game. I am a Life Orb set, very similar to the set I brought versus my last opponent. I'm going to fake out to determine if this Wallaby's a Violite or if he's like a Weak Armor Berry Juice set. And I'm going to Drain Punch here just to get back up to a nice amount of health. Putting me out of range of something like Offensive Brave Bird. He's actually going to U-turn, so we do have Wallaby like kind of nicely weakened. He's definitely forced to roost next time he comes in, as I'm going to go out to my Scarf Dodrio on my Doduo on the Cottony there. He goes for Dazzling Gleam, and I knew my Doduo could take any hit from that thing and threaten him out the following turn with a potential Brave Bird. So I'm going to knock off here. It covers him going Bergmite or Onix, and he is going to get knocked off here, removing his Berry Juice, which is going to be really important for my team taking this thing down. So he's going to recover up as I bring in Tortuga, and I think I just get up Rocks here. No, I click Zen, expecting his Krogunk to come in there, as Krogunk is a pretty great switch into the Tortuga. But Cottony was a nice play because it covered the Zen and also the EQ, so I can respect that play, certainly, as he's now going to go for Giga Drain. But I get good damage off on the Cottony nonetheless, and he's going to sack off his Cottony here to my Krogunk. Sludge Wave was extremely free because nothing really switched in on it safely. He could have gone Krogunk or Onyx, but both of those are threatened by Earthquake, and Onyx obviously threatened by like Drain Punch or Vacuum Wave the following turn. So he's going to go out to a Cyndaquil here, and this is Screaming Scarfed, or even potentially Specs. But I'm going to go into my Berry Juice, mix defensive Mudbray here, and just double out back into Tortuga. The reason I go hard out into Tortuga there is because it covered the Z move. It covered him potentially being like Z Fire, which would have killed my Tortuga if he was like Z Eruption. And it also covered him making a play like this out into Bergmite, because Tortuga matches up really nicely versus this thing. So he's going to stay in a Toxic here as I knock off, predicting him to go out into his Krogunk, or even his Onyx here, as Onyx would have taken the Stone Edge. And this turn, like, if he stayed in it was fine. I got damage off on this thing and can click Stone Edge the following turn, as he actually clicks Curse, which is pretty interesting, cursing up on a rock type, as he is going to get crit there by the Stone Edge. Even if he lived that edge, I outsped him the following turn and just took him out with a follow-up hit there, so it wasn't really... I guess he could have preserved Bergmite, maybe he could have gone out into his Onyx and taken an edge or a knockoff, but either way something was losing an item or taking a big hit there. So he does lose his Bergmite, as he is going to bring in his Volibee, and I think I'm just going to fire off a knockoff, removing this thing's Eviolite. So those are 2 Eviolites down. In this format you can only have 2 of the same item, so that's really good for me to know. He is going to go out to his Krogunk and not to take the Stone Edge well, because it does crit. It would have done about 43 if he didn't get crit, so still big damage off, and I don't really think it changed the outcome of this game at all, but it definitely salt in the wound there. No one likes getting crit. He's going to pop my Mudbray's Berry Juice with this Tectonic Rage here, and that's really nice for me because I'm going to be able to get back up to full and throw up my rocks, threatening the Cyndaquil mainly because if that thing has Eruption, getting any damage off on that is going to reduce the base power of that move. So it also breaks potential Sturdy on Onyx, which is going to be amazing for my squad. So yeah, rocks were pretty nice there, and now I can just fire for Toxic, putting this Volibee on a timer. You really cannot do much to Mudbray here, as he's going to go out into his Krogunk on a Heavy Slam this turn, and he's going to lose his Krogunk, which is big. So now he's going to go out to Cyndaquil here, and like I expected, he does have the Eruption, but I knew at this stage I would be able to take it, and he's more than likely a Scarf set, as he is going to drop here to the Earthquake. So Mudbray has just put in the work this game, really solid, and he's going to go into Volibee here, knowing he can outspeed me, and just click Foul Play, taking out my Mudbray. No point preserving it at that stage. Like, I get, like, if I really wanted to, I probably could have 6-0'd, but like, there's no point. Like, differential doesn't mean anything in the brackets, and yeah, there's just no reason to. And yeah, I will just be able to go into my Sash Modest Abra and just click Dazzling Gleam into Energy Ball and wrap this game up. So yeah, pretty clean first round in the brackets against Bredabus. So we're going to move on into my round 2 game. Alright guys, so we're back here with game 2, and yeah, this time we're facing off against Monochrome, and he's got a very solid team. He's got the Volibee and the Staryu, which are his tier A's, and these two are very good. These are probably 2 of the best Little Cup Pokemon. Another Volibee, so that another time I think we faced one last round, so yeah, we've got another one here. He's got Dratini, Darumaka, and Rattata, which are all solid breakers. Dratini is a very viable Dragon Dance user, and it can also run a mixed attacking set really effectively. Darumaka is Scuffed. It's pretty much what Darmanitan does in higher tiers. Darumaka does down here, and it gets Hustle, so it's strong as fuck. But yeah, very threatening team. But we've got a fire squad here, so we got Sash Abra and Sash Mudbray rocking the double Sash. Sash Mudbray ensures I rock up versus everything on his team. Nothing can prevent me from getting rocks, barring a fast taunt user. I can always rocks up versus the Staryu and then hit it with an EQ. Or just spam EQ, not even caring about rocks, and just 2-KO that thing on the switch, for example. We've got an Eviolite Tortuga with the Solar Rock ability, and that this thing cannot be OHKO'd. Literally, it cannot be OHKO'd by anything on his team. Banned superpower from Hustle, Adamant Darumaka bounces off pretty much. This thing is so thick. And yeah, very solid check to his Volibee. I am Shell Smash on this set too, so I could potentially sweep him with my Tortuga if I position it correctly. Then we have a Life Orb Doduo, very nice breaker for his team. My other mons really appreciate Doduo breaking down his defensive checks like Bronzor and Volibee for my Tortuga, and my Scarfed Baneri to yeah, potentially win in the late game. I've got a Fairy MZ player off Stunky. Now Stunky, really cool. I really like this mon. I can lure his Volibee with my Z Fairy, potentially bop it after it's taken a crunch or something like that. Sucker Punch looking really solid in this endgame, potentially. And then I have a Scarfed Baneri at the back. I do have Healing Wish on this set, and I will be able to Healing Wish potentially up one of my Wincons like Abra, or my Shell Smashing Tortuga in the late game if this thing, if Baneri is no longer useful. And Scarf Return looking pretty nice once Bronzor goes down. So we're going to jump right into the game. Like I mentioned, I am going to lead off with my Mudbray, as he decides to lead off with his Rattata and just throw off a Facade. Really doesn't do much at all, even though I'm not a Violate or anything like that. We do get the stamina boost, and Mudbray is just going to be able to click close combat here, expecting his Levitate Bronzor to come in. And we do a nice chunk. We do 46, popping his berry. And this turn I'm going to go for another close combat to put him in range of a Pursuit from my Stunky the following turn. And nothing is really safe. Nothing wants to take a crunch. If he wants to go into Volibee, like I mentioned, he's going to take a Z player off the following turn. So he's going to sack off his Bronzor, which is amazing for my Scarfed Return Baneri, like I mentioned earlier. It's also really nice for Mudbray, just clicking Earthquake versus his team barring the Volibee. And very nice for Abra as well. His Dazzling Gleam switch-ins are pretty much this thing here, this red ball of death. So he's going to go out into it right here. I'm going to sack off my Mudbray to the U-turn, I believe. He does just, no, he clicks Furblitz here, so fair play. I don't really have a Furblitz switch-in that isn't my Wincon in Tortuga. But like I said, Tortuga cannot be OHKO'd by anything. So this turn, I believe I just fire off a Stone Edge. Or no, I Shell Smash up here, actually. No, I Shell Smash up because I'm like, okay, if he's like, even if he's Scarfed Staryu, I live a hit. And if he's a Violite, he can probably, if he's like fat Violite defensive, he can probably live +2 edge, but he can't kill me. And if he's Scarfed, he can't kill me. So you're gonna see, he does outspeed me, he fires off the Hidden Power Grass, and we eat. That's a 4 times effective move, and I'm at -1 Speed F, and we eat it up. So yeah, Tortuga is sick. I love this mon. As I'm going to go out into my Dodrio here, expecting him to go for the E-Speed. I want to preserve my Tortuga, as it can win in the late game if I do manage to heal it up with Healing Wish on my Baneri. So he's going to fire off E-Speeds, revealing he is Life Orb. So yeah, Dratini's a monster in Little Cup. This thing is powerful. I'm going to go out to my Baneri here, as he is going to go out into his Volibee, and I'm just going to click Return, I believe, as that does proc his weak armor. So he's going to get the speed boost, but this thing cannot OHKO me, as I will be able to just return and knock him out the following turn. So he's now going to go back out into his Dratini, and I don't want to lose Baneris to the extreme speed, as this is my kind of my prime Wincon. I need to be able to click Healing Wish versus his Scarfed Darumaka, or like a Sucker Punch Rattata for my Tortuga to come in safely, as this Dratini is a threat, and I won't be able to Healing Wish up on this in particular. So he's going to go for extreme speed and proceed to 2-KO my Stunky. I go for Z Fairy here just in case he didn't want to click E speed, but obviously he takes us out there. He's going to take a little bit more chip from Aftermath, as now I bring in my Sash Abra, who pretty much forces a kill. If he wants to switch out, something dies. If he stays in, he loses his kind of only means of winning this game, and that is going to drop. So now he's going to go into his Darumaka here. I am going to sack off my Abra. Well, I attempt to sack off my Abra, and because what that would have allowed me to do, if he was Scarfed, he outsped me and killed me. I'm Scarfed Baneri in the back, which naturally outspeeds Stuffed Darumaka, and I just get the Healing Wish off into my Tortuga and win the game. If I outspeed him, then he dies, and his Abra is handled by the rest of my team. I can always Healing Wish up on his Rattata with my Baneri, but unfortunately he misses there. Yeah, it sucks for him, but also sucks for me because, well, it doesn't really suck for him because he would have just lost right there on the spot if he hit for level. It's kind of actually worse for me. If this Rattata does have quick attack, it's worse for me because I was relying on his, I'd be relying on his Darumaka taking out my Abra there and allowing me to switch into my faster Baneri, but he does end up missing, so he's going to go for the Sucker Punch here, take out my Abra. And we're going to go out into the Baneri here, and yeah, just fire off that nice Healing Wish as his Sucker Punch does fail, and yeah, Tortuga is going to come back. I play this endgame like extremely conservatively just because I know I have a guaranteed win with this Tortuga in the back. He's going to crit wild charge and it bounces off. So yeah, we're going to win this one. Very solid game, very fun game, a good game to monochrome. It was definitely a fun one, and yeah, very happy to be able to use Tortuga in yeah, really putting in the work. So going to pause it here and jump into our next match in the brackets. Okay, so we're here with the top 8 match. So at this stage, there are only 8 players remaining, so it's getting pretty tight, pretty close to the end point, and we're now faced off against Youngster Bill. This is a guy. I feel like I recognize the name. I think he's a somewhat competent tour player. He must play in like some of those March Madness tours or something like that, because I recognize the name. I'm not sure what kind of league he's affiliated with, but definitely a solid player to make it to the top 8 anyway. And he's got a very cool team. Again, we see a Star U, and this time we've got a Ponyta, 2 huge threats. This is actually the MV core from the APA, so yeah, very, very solid mons, and he's got the Chespin there as well, so yeah, very, very, very solid team. But yeah, we're rocking a pretty nice team here. We got lead Sash, Krogunk, which can really anti-lead his potential Swanub lead. I felt like he would definitely lead Swanub. Just based on the way he's been playing so far this tour, he's really shown a tendency to spam like lead Swanub, get up rocks, and then have his offense really plow through opponent's team with pretty solid defensive answers in Chespin and Staryu in the back. So I felt like a Sash lead Krogunk would really help me in that regard, outspeeding more than likely the kind of set he'd bring on his Swanub, or at least speed tying. I do have fake out, so I break sturdy, so fake out into drain punch will always kill a Swanub. If he gets up rocks, it's not the end of the world, but maintaining the Sash on my Krogunk is pretty important. I've got a Scarfed Mudbray because Scarfed EQ is really, really solid versus his team. It also gives me a way of revenging his Ponyta and his Staryu, which are pretty big threats to my team. I got a Sash Abra, classic standard Sash Abra. I have a Shell Smash Tortuga, a Scarfed Doduo, and a Poisonium Z Stunky. So you're seeing a bit of a theme rocking a lot of Z Stunkies, but the reason I'm running Poisonium Z here is, as I mentioned earlier, Chespin has Bulletproof, which means Sludge Bomb, Acid Spray. Stunky's only real viable like poison options are useless against it. So that doesn't apply to Z moves though. So I can like fire off an Acid Downpour and really damage that thing, potentially take it out, and that is going to be really crucial for my Mudbray to sweep with EQ in the late game. Obviously he has a Doduo, but that thing can be wore down with rocks and checked from a lot of mons on my team. So that is going to be the squad. Pretty happy with this team. We're going to jump right into it and see how the game went. So he's going to lead off with Swanub, as I kind of expected going into this. I am going to react with Fake Out into Drain Punch. That's actually going to take out his Swanub, so that's huge. No rocks, I don't have to deal with that, as he is going to bring out his Ponyta and fire off his Z move. But like I mentioned, I am Sash Krogunk, so we are going to live this and fire off a powerful EQ, and this is going to do a huge amount. If I had any sort of priority here, I would have taken him out, but I am Fake Out, Drain Punch, EQ, and I think Knockoff, or some kind of other. No, I think I may have been Sludge Wave actually for his Chespin, or Poison Jab or something like that. So I didn't have priority on that Krogunk, otherwise I would have taken out his Ponyta. That would have been pretty crazy. But Ponyta is essentially neutered. If I get up rocks this game, that thing is going to be out of commission unless he does manage to spin with his Staryu. So I'm going to go into my Doduo here and just click Knockoff, I believe, as he does get the Flame Body burn, which is pretty unfortunate. But Doduo still will be able to knock off Staryu's Eviolite, which is going to be huge. But it does reveal to be Life Orbs. This is offensive Staryu, very powerful, very threatening. As I'm going to go into my Mudbray here and just click Close Combat, expecting him to scout for this Scarfed EQ, as he does go into his Chespin here. And he takes that well, revealing that he's more than likely a Violite, as I do just go into my Stunky here. Now, this is kind of interesting play. Like, I didn't really expect Youngster Bill to scout for the Z Poison. I felt like maybe he'd assume that, like, I didn't realize Sludge Bomb wouldn't affect the Chespin. And yeah, I really didn't expect him to go Hone Edge. If he did go Hone Edge, I just had Dark Stab to hit it the following turn, so it wasn't the end of the world. But I ran Poison Z for a reason, and I'm going to click it here, and we are going to take out this Chespin. And this, I want you guys to remember, this particular matchup, like Stunky versus Chespin, and me using a Z Poison move on it, is important. I want you to remember that for later on in the video when I do discuss this again. So we take out the Chespin, which is huge. That pretty much means that Mudbray's only check to Scarf EQ is the Doduo. Staryu is not a check because it's not Fat or Violet, it's obviously an offensive Life Orb set, so yeah, Mudbray looking powerful in this late game, so I'm going to go for the Sucker Punch here and just get some chip off on this Staryu, as he is going to take me out with the Hydro Pump, and now we will be able to go into my Tortuga here and take the Psychic relatively well. Unfortunately he gets the Spit F drop there, but it doesn't really end up mattering because I am just going to Aqua Jet him twice, and or Aqua Jet him once to take him out there, as he is forced to go into his Doduo here, and this gives me the nice chip that I need off from the Doduo to put it in range of guaranteed in range of close combat from my Mudbray. But I can go into my Abra here and fire off a Psychic if he wants to reveal Scarf and break my Sash. He's going to lose his Doduo, meaning that Mudbray kind of just wins now with Earthquake. He could maybe take this opportunity to go for a Swords Dance with his Hone Edge, but he doesn't know if I'm Life Orb, he doesn't know what my Abra set is, and it's not very wise of him to take a Shadow Ball. So at this point though, Mudbray kind of has this in the game, in the bag, so I'm just going to go for EQ, as he does go for the Iron Head. That's a good amount, but we get the Stamina Raise, and yeah, we are going to chew that Shadow Sneak and take out his Hone Edge. So really fun game. Again, really happy with the way Stunky was able to lure in the Chespin. Again, I don't blame my opponent for not really expecting that. I think it's kind of fair to assume that your Chespin walls are poison type with Sludge Bomb, but obviously Z-moves are broken, so that is going to be my top 8 match. We're going to move on to my top 4 match in just a second. Alright guys, so we're back here with this semi-finals match. This is top 4 at this point, and we're going to be facing off against my boy Zamcro, who has a really strong team. Abra and Onyx, two great round sort of tier 1 picks, I think. Yeah, tier 1. And he's got the Budgie, the Meowth, and the Corpish, so that core I have in my APA, my draft league team for that. So yeah, you already know those mons if you guys watch my channel, they put in work. So yeah, Zam's drafted a really cool team. He had a few other threats that he didn't bring, and he's got the Mankey there, which is a really solid Scarfer, and could be a potential Scarfer versus the team that I've got. But one of the main kind of weaknesses of Zam's team in a matchup versus me is that he lacks a dark type, so Psychic spam is really solid, and you can see that I've actually brought both my Psychic types. So the first time Mun is coming to a game, and yeah, I'm actually a really nice set on Munna, but I'll get to that in the end. But first up we have a mixed defensive Chespin with Spikes. His team hates Spikes, and Spikes just really aids in Scarfed Abra, which is another mon that I'm bringing for this game, really just cleaning up in an endgame situation. Pretty defensive. I can actually wall Budgie, but I have to be careful of a potential Z Sludge Bomb from Budgie. If he doesn't have Z, then he can't really touch me unless he brings like Life Orb, Venoshock or something like that. But that'd be, really niche, a real niche way of targeting my Chespin, but it's possible he doesn't realize Bulletproof blocks Sludge Bomb. So then we have a Berry Juice Stunky, which is my check to Abra. It can Pursuit Trap Abra, and it can also Sucker Punch a lot of his team down. I do have Thief on this set as well, so after my Berry Juice procs, I can steal in a Violite off some kind of switch in that he wants to bring in on Stunky, or even just steal like an offensive item off one of his teams. So then we have, like I mentioned earlier, Scarfed Abra, just insanely good versus his team. That doesn't really need an explanation. Then we have Berry Juice Mudbray, another really solid answer to stuff like Meowth on his team, Scarfed Mankey, as well as his Onyx. Mudbray really solid. I can set rocks with this thing, and rocks again aid Abra's endgame, yeah, sweeping ability pretty much. Then we have a Violite Krogunk, really nice to be able to check his Corpish as well as his Meowth, and it can always break the Sash of Abra with a Vacuum Wave if I needed to. It can also revenge like a +2 speed Onyx if I've procced its weak armor or something like that. Also a really nice check to his Mankey as well. So Krogunk just having a really solid matchup here. And then last but not least we have my Double Dance, Z, Psychic, Mashana. So I'm actually Barrier, Calm Mind, Recover or Moonlight, I guess, and Stored Power on this set. The way Z Stored Power works is it turns it into even if you don't have boost up, it becomes pretty much a Psychic nuke. So if I'm in a situation where I can't get a Calm Mind off, but I still need a bigger hit off, I can just fire off that Z move, and it will be able to dent something, or at least maybe even take something out. But we'll see. We're gonna jump into the game. I'm expecting Zam to potentially lead with a Scarfed Mankey, or more than likely his lead Onyx, which would lead well versus my Mudbray if he's a fast taunt lead. He could also lead with his Meowth, which is just really good versus my team. And honestly, Chespin has a pretty good matchup versus most of his team. So I'm going to lead Chespin, as he does lead Mankey. And this is going to let me just get up a spike turn 1 as he does go out into his Budgie. Now, right here, like, I've got to respect the potential for Z Sludge Bomb, especially the way that Zamcroak bought it in on my Chespin. Like, Chespin typically like walls, Fungus at walls, you know, Budgie, these kind of mons that don't pack poison coverage outside of Sludge Bomb. But if he is like Z Poison, which I brought to my last game on my Stunky, then yeah, that could take out my Chespin here, and Chespin is a really solid mon in this matchup, so I don't want to risk that. I am going to go hard out into my Krogunk. It scouts for the Z Poison nicely, and I want to preserve health on my Stunky at all costs for his Abra, in case that thing is like a Life Orb or something like that. So I'm going to go into my Krogunk here, as he does just fire off what I presume to be a Hidden Power Ground. That does super effective damage to me, so it's obviously something I'm weak to, and Hidden Power Ground covered me going to Stunky as well, so that's interesting to know. Very interesting. Either he is Z Sludge Bomb and he made a prediction expecting me to scout it, or he just expected his Budgie to be able to scout my Chespin, thinking Sludge Bomb would be able to hit that super effectively. So that's going to be revealed later in the match though. So right here I'm going to switch out into my Stunky. And the reason I do that is, no, I switch out into my Munna here right now, because he does have access to extra sensory on this Budgie, and if he is packing it, like if he's a fat Eviolite set, extra sensory would make sense, as it allows him to check Krogunk relatively well with an Eviolite Budgie. And yeah, Krogunk's a big threat to his team, so it's possible that he is running coverage for it. So I am going to switch out into my Munna here, as he just stays in and goes for Hidden Power Ground, and this is amazing. So this damage reveals, like, the damage on that he's dealt to my Krogunk and my Munna reveals that he's actually not invested in special attack, which leads me to believe that he's more than likely a defensive Budgie with a Violite, and as a result doesn't have access to Z Sludge Bomb, which means my Chespin walls it. So this kind of information grabbing in the early game is really important, you know, in an important game like this where you can just get eliminated if you lose. It's good to get this kind of information. And we know that only two of the same items can be used in a given team, so if that is his Violite Mon, then it's more than likely that either his Onyx or his Corphish is his second Violite Mon. So right here I am going to go for the Calm Mind, as he does bring in Corphish, and I want to scout whether this thing's Life Orb, because like Life Orb Crabhammer can actually kill Munna from here. It's ridiculous, because I'm not a Violite, I am Z, so I'm going to make the switch out into my Chespin here, as he goes for X-Scissor, which was a nice play, because it covered me staying in and it covered me going Chespin, but Chespin chews that up, revealing that this Corphish isn't actually Life Orb. He's more than likely a Violite, potentially Berry Juice, or it could even be a Z move on that. But I'm gonna stay in and just spam Synthesis here, as he goes back out into Budgie, and now he's going to make the double into his Mankey, expecting me to make. I think he just expected me there to go potentially into my Munna, I suppose. But he's going to go Mankey here, and I'm just going to Moonlight up on his U-turn. That does a lot of damage, but we aren't a Violite, so that's pretty understandable there. Mankey is pretty strong, as now he's going to go into his Onyx, and he's going to click Toxic, as I do go for the Barrier here. And this is interesting, because if he is a Berry Juice Sturdy set, even if he does manage to proc his Berry Juice later in the game, it will be broken. His Sturdy would be broken due to that Toxic bouncing back and hitting him, or him getting affected by this. So I'm willing to take that exchange for sure, as I do get Toxic. So this is going to put Munna on a timer, but I've got a Barrier up, and right here I can just Moonlight up this turn. And because Munna is kind of a threat, like he kind of needs to go for Encore or Shadow Ball if he has it, and this is going to be the freest Stunky of my life. Even if he didn't have it, even if he clicked like Hidden Power Ground here, my Berry Juice would have procced, and it would have allowed me to pursue him the next turn. But he does just go for the Shadow Ball, and this turn Zam's going to switch out, attempting to save his Abra, but he is going to get pursued and brought down to his Sash, and he's now going to bring in his Budgie here. And I'm just going to go back out into my Munna, because this thing takes it on pretty nicely. Toxic obviously wearing me down a little bit, but I am going to Moonlight up here, expecting him to preserve his Budgie, or at least Scout, and just maybe go out to something else, not wanting to take a Psychic. But at this stage, honestly, he doesn't have good Psychic switch-ins, and his team's getting whittled down by the hazards. Honestly, like, I'm in a pretty good spot at this stage, so he's just going to stay in, and I'm going to fire off the Z move here right now, as it would take out the Budgie, but instead he goes out into his Corpish here, I guess expecting me to maybe Moonlight up again, and I'd shown that I wasn't willing to stay in on the Corpish with my Muna, so yeah, that could have potentially shifted some offensive momentum back into his court, but I do catch him here with the Z stored power, and that is going to do a huge amount. That's actually going to put Corpish in range of another switch in on spikes, so this Mon is essentially dead. And I think right here I do just sack off my Muna, as he actually makes a really cool play and goes for Hidden Power Psychic. I respect this play. He was a very bulky Corpish, and Hidden Power Psychic was aimed at catching my Krogunk, which would be able to switch in on an X Scissor. An X Scissor covered me staying in and going Chessman. So that was a really, it didn't work out for him, but like that was a really cool play. I like that a lot. I respect that. Just in case I did want to save Muna, because like Muna does check a decent amount on his team. Like it Moonlights up on the Budgie, if anything, and it's a close combat resist, I guess. So yeah, I respect the Hidden Power Psychic there. But at that stage in the game, like I was really just sacking Muna, because my own Abra kind of just wins now. Like I have to kind of determine his Meowth set. Like if he scarfed Jelly Meowth, then he could potentially outspeed me. But yeah, my Abra's in a really solid spot, as is my Krogunk and my Chespin. So he's now going to go into his Abra. I'm just going to sack off my my Muna here. No point going into Stunky when I can just go in now and revenge it, as his Hidden Power is going to proc my Berry Juice, and we're back up to full, and we've removed the Abra, so that's one less thing standing in my own Abra's way, as his Onix is going to come in here, and he's going to proc my Berry Juice with an Earthquake, and we are going to get the Stamina boost, and this is really nice for me. I can just set my rocks up here, because more chip is what I need, really. More chip is great. It just means that his team is going to have less and less switch-ins to Abra and my Krogunk. So he's going to go for the Giga Drain here, and we chew that up pretty nicely. Right here I'm just going to Thief his Eviolite, because yeah, just getting that nice Evo, and that's going to allow me to take his hits even better. I'm going to Thief once more, as he does just Synthesis up, and because I'm not Sash Abra, I don't really care about him potentially getting damage on me here. He could have either Synth Dub a second time to get back up to full, or he could have attacked. Either way, Abra lives anything he can go for, and I can just get a kill here right now with Psychic. So Sam's going to go right now into his Meowth, which was a great play, as opposed to going to his Mankey, because it kind of ensures him damage versus his Mankey coming in and potentially getting outsped by a Scarfed Abra on my team, which I am. So yeah, Mouth was a fine play here, as he is just going to go for the Double Edge. And he's going to take a lot of recoil from the Life Orb, from the Double Edge recoil, and from the Aftermath. So that's going to put him in range of my hazards. So he's kind of forced to stay in here and die to Vacuum Wave. So we're in a position now where Abra does just kind of win this game, because I'm going to sack off my Mud Ray to 2 close combats. The reason I preserve Krogunk is that if I somehow, like, if Abra somehow, like, loses its Scarf and, I don't know, gets outsped, Krogunk, I have Krogunk in the back to Vacuum Wave down the Onix. And Chessman just kind of wins at this stage, but there was really no point in sacking Krogunk there when Vacuum Wave could be useful if I somehow fuck up with Abra. But gonna go into Abra and just click Psychic twice, and that is gonna wrap up this match, because Onix is gonna take all the chip and is easily gonna be in range of the Psychic. So yeah, definitely a fun semi-finals game. Nice top 4. This does move us onto finals, so good game to Zam. I'm going to pause it here, and we will be back with our finals match. Alright, so here we are with finals, and we are facing my man Hiker Toad. Very, very solid player. Pretty well known in the Draft League community and in the Draft League tour scene, I would say. He's proven that he's like one of I'd say Hiker's top 10 for sure. Like this guy's really good, and yeah, he's made it to finals, so he's got a really strong team. He's got Apom and Drifloon on his squad, which are both banned from Little Cup, to put into perspective how crazy his team is. And he's got Drillbur, which is a really solid mon with potential to run Sandstorm and like to boost its speed to +2. He's got Totodile in his team, which he didn't bring, but is a big threat. Sheer Force, potential to run Life Orb or Violet. Very strong mon. Obviously checked by a few mons on my team, but certainly a threatening mon. He's got the Mime Jr. there, which you see. Definitely a threatening mon. Doesn't have Fairy Stab, but is very, very powerful and is probably his best check to my Abra if he runs like a Berry Juice item on that one for sure. He's got Tyrant, which has Sturdy, again can abuse Berry Juice, potentially a Dragon Dance Z-move user as well. And he's got the Chespin, which is going to be an annoying kind of fat mon for my team to take on. Switches into Mudbray, switches into Stunky, switches into Sludge Bomb. Obviously doesn't switch into Z Sludge Bomb, but I've already brought that, so I kind of have lost that element of surprise. And if Hiker's scouted my replays, which is definitely possible considering there's kind of like money up for grabs for this game. I don't know how hard he's going to go in prep, but Hiker usually puts in the work, so if he has scouted my previous matches, he would have seen that I have brought Z Stunky, and that's something I mentioned earlier when I did show that off. I mentioned how that kind of would come into effect later on, and yeah, that definitely has affected my building here and could potentially affect the game, as you're going to see. But he's opted to bring the Slugma, which is pretty interesting. I did not expect to see that when it came to the game. When kind of thinking of the mons he brings to this game, Slugma was definitely not one of them. But yeah, that thing is a bit annoying to my team. Like in terms of switching into fire types, if he does have the correct coverage for my Tortuga, he can bop that on the switch in if I have my Sturdy broken. And Slugma's got a pretty high special attack stat, so it's definitely a threat. So pretty interesting. It could be like a defensive recover flame body set with a Violet or Berry Juice, something like that too. So the team we have for this game is pretty interesting. We got a really fat mixed attacking Krogunk with an Eviolite. I have Bullet Punch as well as Vacuum Wave on this set, so I am able to revenge a weakened Mime Jr., which is a big threat, especially under Trick Room. And a scarfed Mime Jr. could be a big threat too. So having Bullet Punch on my Krogunk means that I will be able to revenge it if it's taking some prior chip. Vacuum Wave helps me revenge like a boosted Tyrant or a Scarfed Tyrant. Also helps me cover Apom as well, which is really nice. Sludge Wave is really nice versus his team. As you can see, he doesn't really appreciate switching into that. And I think I also have Knockoff on this set to cover his potential Drifloon, which is a big threat to my team. I'm kind of surprised to see Drifloon, but I do have a few solid answers to that, as you can see. So then we have another Scarfed Abra. So I'm bringing Scarfed Abra to this game too, because Hiker does not have a Dark type, and Scarf Modest Abra is a real menace to his team. It can 2 echo Chespin with like a mixed defensive Chespin with rocks or spikes up. So yeah, it's a really nice late game win condition. Obviously I do have to be careful of the Mime Jr., which could be a Berry Juice or an Eviolite set, which can come in and kind of sponge up Psychics pretty easily. And I can't just fire off Shadow Balls with ease because he does have Chespin with Bulletproof and he does have Apom, which I can't really afford to give that thing free switch in. So yeah, I've got to kind of be a bit conservative with my Abra. But yeah, definitely a nice win con in the late game. Then I have a lead Tortuga, which is, yeah, so I'm Sturdy Berry Juice, but I am Shell Smash on this set, so depending on what he wants to lead with, like if he leads with lead Tyrant, I can knock him off. I can set up rocks, knock him off, and Shell Smash the following turn, because he'd be proccing my Berry Juice, bring me down to Sturdy, and then he'd have to do it 2 more times to actually take me out. And by that stage, Tortuga would come out on top. And I actually have Z Memento on my, well, I have Z Dark on my Stunky, which can function in a few different ways, but if I do want to elect to use the Z move on Memento, I would be able to bring back to life my Tortuga if he's left at 1 HP from the early Rocks exchange with Tyrant, assuming that situation ever happens. But yeah, I am Z Stunky, and this is actually really cool. So like I mentioned, I've already brought Z Sludge Bomb before, and I expect Hiker to potentially scout for that. But I have Foul Play on this Stunky, and that turns, and with the Z move, it turns Foul Play into a like ridiculously strong move, capable of OHKOing stuff like his Drill Bite. It OHKOs Mime Jr. It does a huge amount to pretty much everything on his team. He doesn't actually have a Dark Resist because Mime Jr. is part Psychic, so that is something I'm going to be abusing in this match. If I feel that firing off a powerful Z move is more important than bringing back something to life with Z Memento, then I won't hesitate to use that. Then we have a Berry Juice, Spidef, kind of mixed defensive, Rest Talk Mudbray. This is my way of taking on his Drifloon, because if that thing is like a Will-O-Wisp recycle sub acrobatic set, which it definitely could be. That thing is a big threat to my team, and it allows him to actually get past Stunky. I do have Snarl on Stunky, so I can bypass a Drifloon's substitute, but you gotta have more checks to that. That is just not enough, because Drifloon hits really hard with acrobatics once it loses its item, and as you can see, it's a pretty big threat to my team. So having Rest Taught Mudbray really stops that in its tracks. Every time it hits me with acrobatics, I get a stamina boost. And honestly, this thing, like, once I get a Toxic off on or remove Chespin from the game, this thing can actually win by itself. I do have Earthquake and Heavy Slam, so I can 2-Echo Drifloon. I can Oko Mime Jr. with Heavy Slam, and Earthquake just does a huge amount to his team. If I knock off Chespin's Eviolite, which I have knockoff on both my Krogunk and my Tortuga, Heavy Slams are going to be doing quite a lot to that thing. And lastly, I do have a Spikes Toxic Chespin with, I think I'm like Toxic Synthesis Spikes and Giga Drain on this set. Giga Drain covers him potentially burning me with Drifloon. It allows me to still get reliable damage off versus the majority of his team. And I might want to stay in on a situation where Drifloon comes in, I can fire for Toxic and put that thing on a timer. I can also fire Toxic off really freely versus his team because he doesn't have anything else to take a Toxic. So that's going to be the game plan. Definitely a kind of long introduction to this team, but I did put quite a bit of work into this one, so we're going to see what happens here. So like I said, Tortuga is my lead of choice, and Hiker actually ends up leading with Chespin. So he leads with his Hazard lead. Probably that kind of leads me to believe that I don't know, maybe he doesn't have rocks on Tyrant, maybe he's got rocks on the Drillbar, maybe this is like a more bulkier Drillbar, and he felt that leading Chespin gave him more in the early game, so he is going to get up a spike, as I am just going to fire off my rocks, and right here I'm going to knock him off, because like I mentioned, knocking off Chespin, removing this thing's Eviolite, is going to be really important for my Mudbray and my Abra in the back. So he's now going to set up a second layer, as I am just going to switch out into my Stunky here, which is a mon that does threaten Chespin, especially if I am Z. And me going into Stunky, you got to think about like the psychology kind of behind this, because if I go into Stunky on Chespin, it kind of signifies that I have a way of hitting it. And if I do have Z Sludge Bomb and he's bulky drill in the back, he will be able to switch into that, comfortably chew it, and then get the rapid spin off, which really puts me in a bad spot, because that leaves him with 3 layers up and me unable to get my rocks up easily versus his team, because now that Tortuga's sash will be broken next time it comes in, or this 30, it'll be really difficult for me to actually get rocks up because I am so slow. So I'm actually instead going to fire the Z Foul Play, as he does bring in Drillbar. Z Foul Play was probably not killing Chespin, but I did expect him to scout for the Z Sludge, and that does indeed knock out his Drillbar. So that is big, that is really big. That's one of his big threats to my team down, and that's his only way of removing rocks down. So if I can get spikes up at any point with Chespin, they'll be here to stay. So he's now going to go into his Tyrant. I deliberated over this play for quite a while. If he's rocks of his own, if he's like rocks Tyrant, and he rocks this, and he clicks rocks here, and I go hard Chespin, I can get a spike up the following turn. If he wants to stay in an attack, he's probably going to take out my Stunky, or he won't take out my Stunky unless he has Earthquake, because I do have quite a lot of defense on this Stunky. I'm like fast and bulky with Z Foul Play, so but he could potentially Dragon Dance, which would be big. I do have Memento in this set, which I could go for here, but I don't think I need to lose Stunky this early. Having Psycho Punch around could be big for weakening things in range of Abra's Psychic, so I'm going to instead switch out to Chespin, as he's actually just going to fire for the Earthquake, which I found kind of like, if he was not a choice set, if he was like a Dragon Dance set, I found that kind of strange, but if he had Dragon Dance there, and I clicked Foul Play, he would have just died. So at this stage I don't know if he's Scarfed, or if he's like just an offensive set, if he's rocks or anything like that, but I feel like if he did have rocks on Tyrant, he probably went for it there. So that was kind of interesting, as interesting information, as this turn I believe I do just go for a Giga Drain. I went for Giga Drain because I wanted to put his Tyrant into range of Vacuum Wave from Krogunk, on the off chance that he was like Z or like a Dragon Dance set, and I didn't want to break his sturdy. I just wanted to put him in range to where Vacuum Wave would be able to take him out with Krogunk. But he is going to switch out to Slugma, who takes that pretty well, and right here this is really kind of risky, but I am going to choose the Saiyan and Spike, expecting to actually outspeed the Slugma. Slugma is really slow without any speed investment, but I saw Hiker's team after the game, and he actually is speed tying with my Chespin, so we're both hitting 10 speed, and unfortunately he's going to bop me here with a Fire Blast. So yeah, Chespin got absolutely cooked. If this was like a defensive Slugma with Lava Plume, I actually lived that hit, but no, this man was like offensive and just blows my Chespin away with Fire Blast. So very risky play. At the same time though, I didn't have the greatest switch-ins to Slugma. I had Tortuga obviously in the back, but I'm still valuing this thing's Aqua Jet in the late game, preserving that thing, and yeah, switching that in on a Fire Blast would have just allowed him to Earth Power me the following turn, as Aqua Jet was not taking out Slugma and its Ranger health. So I lose my Chespin there, pretty unfortunate. I do need to keep Mudbray's health as well for the Mime Junior, as that thing is actually a threat because it can control the speed tiers with Trick Room potential, so I have to preserve health on my Mudbray as well. So my hand was forced in a sense there, as I am now going to bring out Abra to revenge the Slugma if he wants to stay in, but instead he goes out to his Mime Junior, fair enough. That thing takes 33, so he takes that Psychic reasonably well, but right here he's going to double out into Amber Palm on my Mudbray, and now at this stage I'm concerned about the potential of him having something like Z Solar Beam, or even like Fake Out into Seed Bomb, which would be able to take out my Mudbray from 77. So I'm going to go into my Stunky. It scouts for the Fake Out and forces him to make a decision next turn whether or not he wants to take a Sucker Punch, and it also scouts for the potential Z Solar Beam. So he's actually going to go for the U-turn, which is interesting. U-turn made me think that he could potentially be Scarfed Apom, which actually is what he ends up being, so that's going to be really good to know for the late game, as now he brings in his Tyrant. And I believe right here I just do go for the Memento, thinking that if I Memento this Tyrant, I do still have Berry Juice intact on my Tortuga, and if this thing is at -2 and I get my Tortuga in, I can actually Shell Smash up and potentially win this game, because if he stayed into Earthquake, he would be proccing my Berry Juice, putting me back at Sturdy, and then I would be able to outspeed everything bar like a Scarfed Apom, but I do have Aqua Jet for that. So he's actually going to reveal to be Scarfed Tyrant, and this does take out my Stunky, and this is interesting to know. So he's Scarfed Tyrant. I am going to bring in my Abra and reveal to be Scarfed myself, and that will not necessarily reveal, but imply he may have also thought I was Sash at this point. So he doesn't really know. I kind of take that back. He doesn't know that I'm Scarfed Abra. He could just assume that I'm Sash, but Scarfed was sort of implied by that because I had Mudbray in the back who could easily tank a neutral Earthquake even after spikes, and I could have just clicked Heavy Slam, so I didn't really need to like lose my Abra Sash there. So it sort of implies that I'm Scarfed, but obviously I don't really know how I could perceive that. But he's now going to go into his Mime, he's going to pop his Berry Juice, and this is going to give me Mudbray here, as he does just double back out into Apom. And this is an interesting spot. I am going to stay with my Mudbray, because if he does have Tail Slap, he will pop my Berry Juice and I will be able to live anything. If he goes for U-turn, he'll pop my Berry Juice. If he goes for Seed Bomb, that's kind of the only thing that can actually take me out, bar like a Z Solar Beam would also obviously be able to take me out. But if he does that, it means that he's bait for my Krogunk to come in, and if he goes for Tail Slap and like crits me, he's bait for my Tortuga to come in. So he's going to go for the U-turn, he's going to proc my Berry Juice and give me a nice defense boost, as I am just going to click Heavy Slam here, as he's going to go out into his Chespin, and that does 44, so that does a big chunk. So obviously glad I knocked off this thing's Violet in the early game, as he can't really synthesis up on me for too long, because he's eventually going to run out. Heavy Slam's just doing a little too much, and he's going to end up firing off the Seed Bomb against Mudbray, and I will be able to get that kill. So Tortuga looking pretty solid now. He doesn't have an Aqua Jet resist, as his Mime is going to fail to take out my Mudbray. We are Spit F, so we do tank that pretty well, as that thing's going to go down. So now Abra looking amazing, Krogunk's Vacuum Wave looking amazing too. So he's going to go into his Apom here, which is just going to click Tail Slap, and he's going to crit me here. I think he would have taken me out anyway, just the way damage rolls work with Tail Slap, despite me getting defense boost with stamina. So no matter, this is going to bring in my Krogunk here, who can just click Vacuum Wave twice. If I fail to take him out with the first, I have Aqua Jet in the back, and chances are he won't be able to take me out if he's a scarfed Apom, which I kind of felt he would be, just by the way he was playing it. And that's going to be confirmed by this damage. If he was Life Orb, he definitely took me out here with the Tail Slap, but that Tail Slap damage is doing too little, and Krugunk is going to be able to take out the Apom there. Now Tyron's going to come out, and he's going to be able to chew this Vacuum Wave, but he will be in range of the Aqua Jet from my Tortuga, and he will also be outsped by my Scuffed Abra. So that is going to be my finals game in the APA Little Cup tournament. Good game to Hiker. This game lasted quite a while. I think we were both thinking about our plays pretty thoroughly, and yeah, it was a really close one. Definitely the closest game I had in the entire tour. So definitely a fun way to sort of see out this tour. It was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. Little Cup in the draft format is definitely a fun change of pace. I recommend you guys all give it a go. I've certainly enjoyed it. It's definitely kind of like reignited my passion to play higher tier drafts in a way, which kind of sounds funny because I've enjoyed it, but it's I don't know, it gives you perspective. I think like a lot of things are viable in Little Cup, but the options you have are far more limited than higher tier, so it kind of makes you appreciate that a little bit more. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. I hope you guys did enjoy. This is going to be a longer video for sure, so let me know in the comments what you guys thought, and drop a like if you enjoyed. If you guys want to see more of this kind of tournament coverage in the future, yeah, let me know. I'm curious because I do play in a few tours. I don't necessarily upload every single one I play in, but if this is something you guys want to see more of, let me know. So that's going to be it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you later next.